Meg Griffin is a character who has undergone some significant changes over the years. Initially, she was just an angsty teenager embarrassed by her family, but over time, for some reason, she started being hated and mistreated by everyone around her, especially by her father, who seems to despise her. Due to these changes, there are many things people don't know or have forgotten about her. Curious? Stick around until the end, because I'll show you some things you probably didn't know about Meg Griffin. But before we get started, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to keep receiving videos like this one. She was born with a tail. We've seen many times that Peter hides things from his kids, and in Meg's case, he kept from her the fact that she was born with a tail. In one episode, we see Meg and Lois cleaning the attic when Lois finds some mementos from Meg's childhood, like a baby shoe, a small bronze hat, and a tail. Shocked, Meg asks what she's talking about, but Lois simply throws the tail back into the trunk and changes the subject, showing that she still didn't want to reveal that secret to her daughter. Her heart is in the wrong place. As if being born with a tail wasn't enough, Meg also had a rare and strange physical condition. In a flashback, we see that when she was born, instead of having her heart in her chest like everyone else, it was in her head, very close to her brain. This left Dr. Hartman very confused, but as a good professional, he found a solution. He simply told Lois to always put a hat on the girl. This might be one of the reasons why Meg almost never takes off her iconic pink beanie. That shouldn't be there. She must always wear the hat. She was a model. Despite constantly being mistreated and called ugly, Meg was once invited to work as a model. However, after taking some suggestive photos, she discovered that she hadn't been hired as a regular model, but as a foot model. Apparently, she had some of the most beautiful feet in the series. After the photo shoot, pictures of her feet were published on adult sites, and Meg quickly became one of the most famous models in that field. She can attract birds. After Chris became famous as an artist, he didn't want Peter involved in his career. Upset about this, Peter decided to make Meg famous to teach Chris a lesson. However, the only talent Meg had was attracting birds with her whistle. Peter tried to take advantage of this ability, but accidentally summoned Big Bird from Sesame Street, who almost beat them both up. You disgust me. Her real name. For many years, fans thought that Meg was short for Megan, but since the character is always ridiculed, her name ended up being an abbreviation for something else. In a flashback, we see that shortly after Meg was born, Lois handed Peter her birth certificate to register her as Megan. However, Peter thought it would be funnier to change the name to Megatron, so Meg's real name is Megatron Griffin. Peter might not be her father. Although Meg was registered and raised as Peter's daughter, there's a possibility that he isn't her biological father. In one episode, while Brian is being tried in court, he lets slip that Meg's real father's name was Stan Thompson. Peter doesn't show any surprise, indicating that he might have already known. Meanwhile, Meg doesn't hear this revelation because she's listening to music with headphones while Brian speaks. She was brainwashed. When Stewie and Brian discover that the Russians had brainwashed some Americans into becoming sleeper agents who would be activated with a key phrase, they get caught up in a wild mission against Russia to stop a missile from hitting the country. After all this, they return home and talk about their adventure. By accident, Stewie says the activation phrase, "That Italian family at the next table is really quiet." After hearing the phrase, Meg starts acting strangely, indicating that she had also been brainwashed. She then picks up the phone and starts speaking in Russian. However, she doesn't seem to be a threat, as the person on the other end of the line just tells her to shut up. She has a child. Meg's life is anything but easy. In addition to being ridiculed and despised by everyone, she also ended up having a child by accident, which she decided to hide from everyone. In one episode, when Meg arrives at school and opens her locker, we see that she keeps a baby inside. The little one excitedly greets her, but Meg, annoyed, asks what he's doing out of his box. She then throws several books at his face and slams the door shut. Ron Griffin. Another recurring joke in the series is that many characters believe Meg is a man. However, eventually, this joke becomes reality. When Stewie travels to the future to see what his adult life will be like, we discover that in that timeline, Meg decided to transition after college and is now a man named Ron Griffin. I can't take too long. I need to buy a razor. You know, man stuff. Her body is a weapon. When a school bully threatens to beat up Meg, Quagmire steps in to give her some advice. He tells her that her strange body could become a dangerous weapon if used correctly. So Quagmire begins training her, and on the day of the fight, after being brutally beaten, Meg decides to fight back. To do this, she pops a pimple on her face at the bully. Obviously, this doesn't harm him at all, so Meg resorts to her most lethal move. She simply lifts her shirt, causing the bully to melt to death. And those were some things that few people know about Meg. Let us know in the comments if you already knew any of them. If you made it this far, that means you enjoyed the video, so don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss upcoming Family Guy videos. See you next time.